Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing Sports. In boxing, you find a way to win or you find a way to lose. Terence Crawford, first of all, good morning. How you guys doing? I decided to jump on here and make this video before I go on my walk. So Terence Crawford's coach, Mack, normally he's very vocal when a camera's put in front of him and he gets an opportunity to talk about Terence Crawford, what the plans are, what the plans were, and the current state of Terence Crawford's career. But he was doing an interview over the weekend, and he said a couple of things that I thought were interesting. Now, I'm not here to start pointing fingers at Spence or Crawford, right? I'm not here to rehash any other crap between Crawford and Spence that has happened in the past. But what I'm here to talk about is what could be developing as far as Terence Crawford and his next fight. But according to Mack, he's saying Terence Crawford and his team are currently working with 2 to 3 different camps on a fight. Now, when I say camps, I mean 2 to 3 different individuals and their teams and their camps on a potential fight. He didn't disclose the individuals, the camps, or the teams. But what I believe is one of them is going to be Roach's team. Second one, maybe Spence. The third one, I have no idea, right? But he wouldn't go on to say. He was pull a WBC. Remember when Solomon came out and did that interview on the Boxing Voice? He was talking in code and dodging questions. You could tell he had media training. That's how Mack was. He didn't want to spill the beans. But what I'm going to tell you is what I took from that is they just view Rocha, and these were Mack's word, as just a glorified sparring match. And what that tells me is they're listening to people. They know that the majority of boxing fans feel, well, they have an opinion on Crawford and Spence on who's to blame, but the consensus is Terence Crawford, for the most part, whether you think he's at fault or you think it's just he's facing his mandatories, right? Or you feel opponents are ducking him, doesn't matter, right? They feel that his resume has a list of basically sparring partners. And I'm just telling you, that's the consensus. Even when you talk about him fighting Sean Porter, people still feel like, hey, that wasn't the best Sean Porter. Sean Porter's dad, Kenny Joe Jackson Porter, came out and said he knew he would lose, basically. And he didn't even get credit for that win. But what I'm getting at is, with them saying Rocha is just a sparring match, that tells me that in the back of their heads, they're like, all right, we know what we're going to walk into when it comes to the boxing fans and how the boxing fans are going to view this fight, even though he's been made a mandatory. This is what we're going to encounter. Same thing with Evander Ciem. That was a sparring match, you know what I mean? It really was. So for these guys, I don't think they really want the Rocha fight, but this is where it gets interesting, okay? This is where it gets interesting, and this is why I'm very interested to find out who is the second and third opponent that we're talking to now. We know there's some Spence talks going on behind the scenes. You can see Mack can't even hide it. He can't even hide it that there are some serious negotiations going on between Crawford and Spence. You could watch Mack's nonverbal and body language. Now, I'm not a body language expert, but I'm a common sense man, and I've dealt with people who are trying to hide the truth and not say something and lie. 25 years of experience of dealing with that crap in counseling sessions. So I know when somebody's blowing smoke. And old Blow Smoke Mack is out here trying not to let us know what's really going on. But they said the Spence fight could happen this year. And I think we all know it could happen. Doesn't mean it will. But when we talk about Rocha, when we talk about his WBO, him being the mandatory, the fact that, what's today, 19th? Hell, man. Today, tomorrow, we should be hearing something, right? Because that's when De La Hoya and Terence Crawford and those teams that's the deadline for them to work out an agreement. Now, if they weren't able to, this is where we see they go to purse bid. And this is where it gets interesting, the $200,000 minimum. Someone could come in and drop, 10, 15, 20 million to pick up the fight. I doubt that. But this is where it gets interesting. Is someone going to come in and save the day? Or is Terence Crawford going to give up that belt because he's not going to fight for not even 3-4 million? I just don't think he's going to fight for that. So we got to wait and see. Or is an announcement for Spence and Crawford is that announcement gonna be delivered to us? So right now is a very interesting time as far as the career of Terence Crawford. Probably the most interesting of any time in his career. And the reason why I say that is because he really could be in a situation where he could have that WBO strap stripped from him. There's never been an instance where there was a potential for them to strip his belt. He's always seemed to be a guy who wants to go on there and defend his belt and hold on to his strap. Talk about the undisputed distinction against Errol Spence. But now you can see the way things have been lined up, and against Spence as well. It's pushing them towards each other. But if they decide they don't want to face the mandatories or they don't want to face each other, well, someone's going to lose a belt. And right now, Crawford seems to be the first up to bat. What's he going to do? Now, Mack also said Crawford, the goal is to fight twice this year. Now, when he said that, I said, okay, looks like he's going to fight twice this year. First fight with Spence, then the rematch. Those are the two fights. He spoke with confidence, two fights this year. They fight June or July, and then fight the end of the year. That's two fights. Not Rocha, then Spence. Nah, man. So, I don't know. We're just having a conversation. But what makes the most sense to me will be Spence 1 and 2. But we're going to find out. Like I'm telling you, this week, this has to be the week where something comes out. Or they get an extension to have more time to negotiate. But I don't know if that's going to be approved or granted. If it's been granted already, they just haven't disclosed that to the public. We don't know that. But I'm just giving you the information. What I'm telling you is what Mack said. Now, when I'm giving my opinion, saying, well, maybe this could happen. We don't know. But what you see here in this little this list of bullets that I put on here, these are Mack's words. These aren't my words, right? Fingers crossed something works out. Mack was talking about fingers crossed that something works out when it comes to Rocha, when it comes to Spence, when it comes to fighting twice this year, when it comes to Terence Crawford's career going the direction he wants it to go. All Mack was saying, for the most part, yeah, fingers crossed, fingers crossed. Doesn't really tell us anything. There's a whole lot of gray area. This is where we can assume and speculate. That being said, I'm going to assume what's in the best interest of Terence Crawford's career would be what he wants the most, which is the most money and undisputed distinction. And there's only one optimal choice. So you guys figure that out. Errol Spence doesn't take tune-ups. Okay, so the conversation about, hey, Errol Spence, Terence Crawford, the inactivity of Errol Spence, why would he come and jump into a fight with Crawford when Errol Spence has been off for so long? Well, Mack, he made sure to make it clear. Well, we know Errol Spence doesn't take tune-ups. Now, that got my attention because, one, it's a fact. Errol Spence said they don't do tune-ups. But also for Mack to say that, that tells me that there shouldn't be any impediments preventing them from fighting as far as when we're talking about inactivity. Errol Spence and Derrick James, they have a solid game plan, solid camp, and Errol Spence should be able to come into the fight with Terence Crawford with no excuses, right? And that's what Mack was saying too. And this isn't Mack saying that Spence doesn't do tune-ups. He's just parroting what Spence has said. They don't believe in that. So that's another reason why I feel Spence and Crawford could be happening in June, because you're not seeing much movement or much discussion about Crawford and Rocha. I really feel behind the scenes there are things being put in place to make this fight happen. Also, why you're not hearing nothing about Spence and no damn Thurman. Look, Spence and Thurman should have fought already. I don't care about that little, fender bender, mash-up, crash-up that Spence recently had, where he was glad that his vehicle was reinforced with steel. Look, he didn't get no bumps and bruises or nothing. The way they reported him would make you think that he went through another ordeal like he did a couple years ago. Not the case, right? Maybe the man got a little bit of soreness in his leg or something. Bumps and bruises, nothing serious. Spence can fight right now, but there's a reason why he's not fighting. So, to me, the writing's on the wall of the direction it's going. Now, Crawford back in June or July, hey, that's around the time frame he said he wanted to fight. That's around the time frame that Errol Spence was talking about fighting. Look, that's around the time frame that stuff came out about the placeholder for a fight for Errol Spence and Terence Crawford, right? They were just saying, Espinosa saying that was just a placeholder for if they decided to have a fight. It could have been done a long time ago. Espinosa was lying. Conor McGregor called him a weasel. Espinoza was weaseling out of the questions like we're all stupid. So, long story short, everything is pointing towards Spence and Crawford. Now, I'm not going to sit here and waste any more breath on this discussion because I know we're all tired. But what I'm giving you is the latest and greatest. Nothing definitive. But what you can see, if you pay attention, right? Everyone is very careful about what they say with Crawford and Spence. No one's telling you, no, it's not happening. What you're saying is, it's a good chance. It's a good chance. And I'm going to tell you right now, I truly believe that this week is going to be it's going to be very telling when it comes to what's next for Crawford. And if Crawford somehow, something with this Arocha thing doesn't sort itself out, I'm telling you, there's got to be something else. If it's not Spence, it's something bigger. But the only person it could be is Spence because that's the only way he can not lose that WBA belt by not going for Arocha is if the sanctioning bodies approve for him to go into the undisputed bout with Spence, which is what the sanctioning bodies all agree and that they want. One fighter, one champion in each division as far as undisputed. But we will see, right? That being said, y'all keep cool. Monday, Twitter should be popping. So be paying attention to Twitter to see what the hell gets announced by these Coppingers and all these other boxing analysts out there working for ESPN and whoever, and see what they have to say. Because I'm going to be paying attention because I'm sure we're going to get some kind of announcement that's either going to make us say, okay, here we go again, Crawford against his mandatory, which some people see as a tune-up, which I don't see as a tune-up or see as a sparring partner, or we're going to go, finally, Crawford and Spence, here we go. But let's just wait and see. That being said, y'all keep cool. I'm about to go on my walk and go live. Shout out to the veterans, all 7 continents, in the breeze.